Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, good Thursday morning to you. Welcome to the show. Ryan Nicholson, our producer today. Bigly, Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. We're brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group. Your next ride and your next service can be found on US 119 from Chapmanville to Logan to Belfry, Kentucky. Start your drive online at thornhillautomotive.com. We do the show from the Par-Mar Store studio. If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon. Our text to the show are a service of Tony the Taylor. Tony the Taylor's final winter markdown sale starts at 11 o'clock this morning. Phone calls to the show is service of Bigly, Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street in Charleston. All right, we are loaded up this morning. Of course, today is the second annual sock drop, as we are taking up donations of socks for Union Mission. And I've got Jason Quintrell from Union Mission is going to be joining us momentarily. Also, Robb Reel from 96.1 KWS is here. I'll tell you, it has been, I don't want to spoil it, but it's been a huge success so far, even with the temperatures. We started at 7 o'clock this morning out on our parking lot. We'll let them talk about that a little bit later on. Reds Caravan is coming to the Coliseum and Convention Center tomorrow night. We'll spend a little time talking about that and a lot of changes with KRT here in the Kanawha Valley. Sean Hill, the executive director of KRT, will be stopping by as well. And as always, your phone calls and texts are welcome. I do want to go to the newsroom, though, and talk to Jeff Jenkins about yesterday in the White Feather and Lance trial. Jeff, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. Yes, so the defense is continuing to call its witnesses to the stand. This is the child abuse, child trafficking trial. These two, this husband and wife, Jeannie K. Whitefeather, Donald Ray Lance, arrested in October 2023 when deputies found two of their kids locked in a shed. So the defense is presenting its case, and basically Jeannie K. Whitefeather was on the stand yesterday in her own defense, again, spending several hours, and just talking about that she was more of a frustrated parent. She says she did not abuse her children. And they went over several things. And then there were character witnesses called on her behalf, people that knew her when she lived in other places, and saying that she was not a racist. They saw her going the extra mile to care for her children. So there you have the defense trying to build the case that, that what has been said about her is not true. What we expect today is they resume testimony. We expect Donald Ray Lance to take the stand in his own defense. So this might be the highlight of the day. You may remember Lance was seen on video that the jury saw that Jeannie K. Whitefeather took of him berating the children over several things. So I'm sure he'll be questioned about that, both from the defense attorney side and from the cross-examination of Kanawha County prosecutors. So, we're taking additional steps here. We'll see where it is after today. If the state is if the defense is close to resting its case, after that there could be rebuttal witnesses, and then you've got jury instructions, closing arguments, those things. So maybe by tomorrow, but maybe stretch into next week. We'll have to see.
All right, Jeff, I appreciate it, man. Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right.
The second annual WVRC Media Sock Drop is happening on our parking lot, 1111 Virginia Street East in Charleston, benefiting Union Mission. Jason Quintrell is the CEO, the big guy, the chief.
Queso Grande.
What's your title there, Jason?
Yeah, CEO officially, but I will answer to just about anything.
Okay.
Except
right.
late for supper.
Exactly. Robb Reel, rocking the old school Chicago White Sox hat today.
Well, I had to wear a Sox hat
I get
today.
That. I get that.
See what I did there?
And my wife being from Chicago, the whole family are White Sox fans, and they are really bad. They're really bad. They were the worst team in the majors this year.
They tried to sign me.
That's how bad it was.
Because 2 years of minor league experience, and I'm left-handed. So, I could have ended up playing on the south side of Chicago. It is the baddest part of town.
That's what I've heard. I did a song about that, I think. All right, so we started at 7 o'clock this morning. And again, if you're not familiar with this is our second annual sock drop. We're asking for donations of packages of new socks, whether you can give us one package, whether you can give us 50. We'll take whatever you can get. And Jason, it's so far, and we're only 1 hour and 12 minutes into it, it's been a big success so far.
Dave, this is my first experience with you guys in this sock drop, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. The amount of work you guys have put into this, the amount of time you've put into this, and the amount of support you've got in this. I mean, by 8:30, we had a couple hundred pairs of socks, Dave. That's crazy. 5 degrees outside, and people were pulling in, giving socks.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a really quick story. This is one of those events, and Rob knows this too, that all of our stations are involved in. This is Rob's baby, but we rope all of us in. V100, The Beat, and The Mountain, and all of our stations are involved in it. So I'm out there with Steve Animal on 98.7 The Mountain. I hang out on the mountain a little bit from time to time, and I'm out there with Animal, and we almost saw Animal get hit and killed by a car. If you go over to the Mountain Facebook page, or also Dave Allen Radio, I shared it on there. We almost lost our morning guy there, but that's okay because we would have got socks out of it, so that's all that matters, right, Rob?
Well, if you knock him out of his socks, it's double the points.
I don't know that you want Animal socks, though. I mean,
no, those would need to be laundered heavily.
But and Rob, you and I talk about this all the time when I have you on, whether it's this, whether it's Turkey Drop, whether it's the Beats backpack attack that we do, your walk to Morgantown for WVU Children's. We got the greatest staying listeners in the world, man.
Don't we, though? It is the reason, maybe, I came back. The people in West Virginia. I had worked here once before in the mid-20-teens, and life happens and things happen. But when I had the opportunity to come back here and get up real early on 96.1 KWS, it was because of the people in West Virginia. I've lived in 17 states. I have been posted to 3 other countries, and I have never, ever, ever encountered people who are so willing to give to their friends and neighbors.
And, of course, these are all going to Union Mission. Jason, how exactly once we get them to you, what happens then? I mean, how do these things go out to people? Do we have a plan yet?
So we have a men's shelter over off of Leon Sullivan Way that we'll certainly distribute there, but we'll also get on the phone and call some other organizations that get involved in homelessness and help folks out on the streets, and we'll start getting them out immediately to folks that are in need. I mean, there are people out right now. I can't imagine just a little bit of time I've spent out there. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine how they're living out there, how they're existing out there, and it really breaks my heart, and I want to get these socks to these people.
Well, you and I even had a conversation about what is homelessness, and anybody who's been in downtown Charleston has seen those displaced folks who maybe are trying to camp under overpasses and are down on the trail by the Kanawha River. But we also talked about, that mom who has tried to escape an abusive situation with her kids, and she's couch surfing. Yeah. And we've talked about, folks who've just had, whether it's medical or job related things, they may be living out of their car for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years because they just can't get their feet back under them. And so getting them socks, pardon the pun, is one step closer to getting those folks' feet under them.
Absolutely. You mentioned this morning how that basic need has to be met.
Yep.
And that is exactly what you guys are doing with this sock drop. I mean, basic needs of just warmth being met. That's amazing.
And you can get socks at a variety of places, and it's not going to set you back a whole lot. And if you're working today and maybe you didn't have time, we can take cash.
Sure.
You can, and again, we make it really easy for you because our parking lot is
it's an ellipse.
It's an ellipse.
As the ex-wife math teacher insists I tell you.
It's an ellipse. So basically what that means is, that doesn't mean it blocks out the sun. What it means is that when you pull in our parking lot, you literally go in one side, you make a circle, and we've got people out there all day, whether it's Rob, I'll be out there, Stephen Jenny, Woody Woods, all these people, the sales weasels are involved. We make everybody out there, and you can just hand them to us.
So on that note, can I tell a quick story about Stephanie?
Yeah.
So Stephanie is a brand new employee, like not even officially an employee yet. Mm-hmm. She is going to come officially start working for us on February 3rd, and there's more about that. And I'm not going to lift the curtain. Stephanie insisted on coming today to volunteer and be a part of this because she's like, I love doing this sort of stuff. This is why I want to work here. So somebody who is not even on the payroll yet has come to be a part of this. So welcome, Stephanie.
Yeah, she's a South Charleston native who's been living in Cincinnati, and we got some special projects. We're not at liberty to discuss some things that are going to happen in the month of February, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And Stephanie's going to be a big part of that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, when she found out we were doing this, her start date is February 3rd. She said, I want to be a part of this. And she showed up to help at 7 o'clock this morning.
If that doesn't sum up the wild and wonderful spirit of West Virginia helping West Virginians, I don't know what does.
All right, so we're going to be out on the parking lot today until 6 p.m. It is going to be sunny. The sun's going to come out. So there is that. A little sunshine. And I think our good friends over at Chick-fil-A are going to even provide us with some lunch for people today.
A great big thank you to Tom and Tim and Megan and everybody at the South Charleston location. Every week on 96.1 KWS, they are the ones who feed our winning workplaces for Free Lunch Friday. And so we're subbing that this week to feed our volunteers, our people who are on the parking lot all day. So, and we may have a little something for you while supplies last as you swing through this morning. So I have to say that very carefully because there's rules about quid pro quo and we're not handing out any quid or anything. But as you come through, we might have something a little special for you, a little extra something for stopping by to drop off some new socks.
And again, it's till 6 o'clock tonight, folks. We make it really easy for you. Head on to your local dollar store. They're not. It's a very inexpensive thing.
The variety of bags and price tags we have seen has been extraordinary.
Yes.
We talked about one of our listeners pointed out A to Z Outlet, who's a good advertiser of all of our stations here. They had heated socks for how much was it, Rob? At one point. Now they may not still have them for that. What was it at one point? It was very inexpensive.
I want to go dirt cheap because I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was ridiculously cheap.
And and there's a variety of places you can go. And if you're on your lunch hour, Rob and I talked about that a couple of days ago. If you get an hour for lunch, I mean, you can still go grab you some lunch somewhere, but we'll just pull in our parking lot and hand us the stuff, and we'll take care of it.
Maybe you are like Tracy, the straw that stirs our office drink around here, and maybe you can jump up and start pestering people at work and get 5s and 10s and 20s together.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And maybe somebody wants to run out and buy socks, or maybe somebody just wants to bring a big envelope of cash.
Sure.
Green is always the right color. And cash is always the right size.
You can also, if you don't have time for any of that, go online, www.wefeedpeople.com, and you can donate there and tag it with socks, and we will make sure that those socks go in the correct hands.
Or feet.
We could dynamite drop in, Monty. Those broadcast schools really paying off.
All right. Jason, always a pleasure to work with you. You guys do incredible work out there. And Jason, I think, wanted to stay the whole hour on the show here because he was thinking, well, if I'm in here, then I don't have to be out there.
You mean I'm not?
No, I got other things I got to get to.
I'm a little disappointed.
I got other things I got to get to.
You wouldn't be the first person Dave's disappointed today. You won't be the last.
Today.
Hey, thanks, man.
You know what my answer to that would be? I'm not going to say it on a family radio show, though, Ron. I'm not going to say that at all. So anyway, all right, we got to go. Guys, I appreciate you being here. Rob, I'll be out on the parking lot with you throughout the day. Jason Quintrell, the CEO of Union Mission, appreciate you being here as well. It's going on till 6 o'clock tonight on our parking lot, 1111 Virginia Street East in Charleston. Make it rain with socks and money, and we would appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys. Sean Hill from KRT is going to be stopping by here momentarily. There's some changes with the KRT system here in the Kanawha Valley. We'll talk to Sean about that. Plus, the Reds Caravan is coming to the Coliseum and Convention Center tomorrow evening, and we'll talk to our resident Reds experts on the staff here. Well, Brian Bradley's not with us right now, but two of the other ones are Dale Cooper, the co-host of Hotline, and we're going to bring Jeff Jenkins back in here for that as well. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you in part by Huston's Pizza. This month at your favorite Huston's, get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and any pizza bowl, only $22.99. Find your nearest Huston's for delivery, pickup, or dine-in at HustonsPizza.com. Biggly Piggly Wiggly Hotline 304-345-5858. Tony V. Taylor text 304-935-5008. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Are you a physical therapy assistant and looking for an opportunity in orthopedics, wellness, and athletic care? If so, Generations Physical Therapy is offering flexible work hours and an upbeat atmosphere. With 7 convenient locations, Generations may have a job designed for you. Visit generationspt.com.
Banking is not just about numbers. It's about people. Are you connected? Without a community bank, your financial journey might feel lonely. And who will you turn to when life gets complicated? From checking accounts to loans, Poca Valley Bank has you covered. We're here to support you with personalized service and genuine care across our 8 locations. Poca Valley Bank, your community bank where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com for more information. Equal housing lender. Member FDIC.
Americans for Prosperity, West Virginia's Pathway to Prosperity, is a bold roadmap to help principled policymakers rapidly transform the Mountain State into a better place to live, work, and raise a family. To do that, we encourage state leaders to boldly adopt proven reforms that makes quality health care more affordable and accessible. Empower parents and expand education freedom to every child. Rein in government spending and cut taxes, allowing Mountaineers to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. While the recent work of the legislature has taken enormous strides toward breaking down the barriers that hold our citizens back, now is not the time to rest on our laurels. Instead, we must come together to double down on advancing freedom and opportunity to create more prosperity for every West Virginian. This is how we reignite the American dream. To learn more, visit wvpathway.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
.23. Senior producer Ryan Nicholson is in charge of things today. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony V. Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you in part by Snap Fitness. Snap has a wide selection of equipment, including free weights, cardio, machine weights, and more. 5 convenient locations too: Charleston, Hurricane, Winfield, Barbersville, and Milton. Between now and the end of the month, get free activation with a monthly contract. Visit snapfitness.com for complete details. Coming up on tomorrow's show, of course, going to have it's Friday, so we'll have Hannah Gardner from the Kanawha Charleston Humane Association with this week's Adopt Me Please Pet of the Week. Restaurant Week is in Charleston. Starts next week. Stephen Keefe, the food guy from the Charleston Gazette-Mail, is here to talk about that. And we got yet another chef here in Charleston that is in the running for a James Beard Award. It's the gentleman over at Restaurante Abruzzi, so I'm sure that Stephen's going to want to talk about that. And, of course, the Hunting and Fishing Show gets underway tomorrow at the Coliseum and Convention Center. We'll talk to Glenn Jarrell and Jim Strawn about that coming up on tomorrow's show. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony V. Taylor text 304-935-5008. Sean Hill of KRT in the studio with us this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking through the sock drop there this morning. It's pretty amazing what our listeners can do. And it's like 200 pairs of socks already, and it's only an hour and 25 minutes into this thing.
Exactly, and you can tell today's the day that you need things like the socks. I mean, when it's these temperatures outside.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I've had you on the show several times, and we talked about the changes coming to KRT, and you and I were talking about this off the air. What happens is sometimes you talk about things, we do news stories on them, and then until it actually takes effect, people don't realize that it's here and it's affecting people. So for those that may not have heard you on the air in the past, before we talk about the changes that have happened and are now being implemented, why the need for said changes?
Exactly. So what we did, and we started this process over a year ago, is looking at our system. Hey, what works? What doesn't work? What changes can we make to essentially make our dollar go further? Let's be fiscally responsible, but let's also make sure that we can do as much as we can for our passengers. And that we went through this process. We called it a comprehensive operational analysis to look, hey, what routes are performing well? What routes could do a little bit better? And what changes can we make to our service to really be sustainable for years to come? And so the result there was a recommendation of, hey, make these changes to these particular routes. We held 3 public hearings. We got a lot of feedback from the public, and I'm really proud our board listened to the public. They made some changes, and in October they passed they passed a plan that would essentially go into effect come early next month on February 9th that would make some of these changes. And now we're getting closer to that finish line.
So they haven't actually happened yet. I'm sorry about that.
They have not happened yet.
Okay, February 9th.
Okay. Yes. So we're in the process right now of saying, hey, we've got 2.5 weeks to do every single thing we can to make sure our passengers are informed. They know what the schedule looks like. They know what the routes look like. et cetera. So when February 9th happens, they're not surprised by anything.
And I guess the one that's probably, Sean, getting the most attention is the elimination of the Sunday service. Is that the one that seems to be?
Exactly. So the big thing we did was come February 2nd will be the last Sunday that KRT operates. So come February 9th, there will be no Sunday service with KRT. That was something we looked at when we were talking about potentially eliminating 11 routes. Instead of eliminating those routes, we kept every single route in service. But yes, Sunday service does go down, and we were able to look at the data and see that ridership on Sundays, there was ridership there, but it was substantially lower than on weekdays.
Well, and unfortunately, and there's always, going to be the cases where people, and matter of fact, I have a text here that says, I'm not a KRT rider. Sunday workers need the service to get to work. Sure. So I'd like to request KRT to reconsider some sort of Sunday service. And you're probably hearing a lot of that.
Sure. And I think the thing that we've proven with these public hearings and listening to the public and our board being so deliberative in their decisions is we don't pretend that we've got the perfect answer. It's tough when you live in a world of budget realities and you're trying to make the best decisions you can with a limited amount of funds. And this Sunday service was the first option we looked at. It wasn't the first option we looked at, but it's what we landed on as the kind of the lesser evil there in our world. So, long term, we will continue to evaluate these, what's working, what's not working, and make those changes on a more regular basis. That way it's not so tough where every 10 or 15 years you say, hey, here's a huge change at KRT. We need to be liquid and keep making changes based off what works and what doesn't.
And what are some of the other changes? As I said, the Sunday elimination seems to be the one that's getting the most headlines, but what are some of the other changes?
So the Sunday service is getting the most headlines, but the 11 routes that were originally proposed to be discontinued, we're actually taking those routes and we're keeping them. But what we did was reduce the frequency of them. So some of them operated 12 or 8 times a day. Now they might operate 4 to 6 times a day. And we wanted to keep the routes in the morning and then in the evenings to make sure that individuals can get to and from work, but recognize that those routes were extremely underperforming and over-subsidized. I couldn't look you in the eye and say, hey, this makes sense as far as using taxpayer money to continue to run this many times a day. So we did that as one step, but also 7 of our routes, we actually are increasing the service because we recognized, hey, these mainline routes, 87% of our ridership happens on 4 routes. So we bumped up 7 of those routes to say, hey, the routes that are working, let's increase the service and continue to get people on those lines.
So it's not all about eliminating. I mean, you're actually increasing some.
Exactly. We're minimizing 11 routes as far as their frequency, but we're increasing 7 of the routes. So it's a trade-off of, hey, we're going to keep what's working and bump it up, and the things that aren't working as well, we're going to take down.
We had a text here that says, what about using one of the smaller buses as a kind of an Uber service for those who may need help to work also and be able to use their passes for payment?
Sure. So we have a pilot project that's going on right now. You can go online, the Apple Store, Google Store, download KRT Plus. KRT Plus is a program that we are using smaller vehicles. Right now we're using our ADA vans, the smaller gray vans you'll see around town, but we've also ordered some new shuttle vans. And right now we have 3 zones. We have East Charleston, West Charleston, and South Hills. We've started that program where individuals can essentially get on the app or they can call into our office and request a ride. We've done it for 4 months. The first month it was like 27 people used it. Last month I'm proud we were up to about 1,500 people.
Wow, you went from 27 to 1,500?
It went up so high in the last 4 months that we report our numbers to FTA and they said, whoa, you guys had a typo. And they said, well, no, we didn't actually. Like, people were actually using this service, and we were excited about that. But again, that's going to continue to grow, and we're going to do that. And that was part of this process was, hey, we're not going to take away service. We're going to replace it with something in certain instances, in certain areas where maybe the frequency of your routes aren't as often, but you now have this option to get on an app, and really we'll live on your schedule as opposed to you living on KRT's.
Talking with Sean Hill again from KRT, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Jute. For the best in security systems for both your home or business, talk to Jute, J-O-O-T of Tays Valley. Visit protectedbyjute.com. A couple of texts here for you. Says, I'm not a KRT rider. I have a friend who hires for a food service job. They reject candidates if their transportation is the bus. Unfortunate for those people. Can they legally do that? I mean, I know you're not an attorney, but neither am I, but
I don't think that's fair, for one.
Here's why I bring that up, because in a former life, in a past radio station, I was one of the ones that did the hiring of people. And one of my questions I always asked them was, do you have reliable transportation?
Sure.
Because radio, you got to be there no matter what. And I was told by our attorney, maybe it's a question for the Peyton folks when they're back on the show again. I was told by an attorney to stop saying that, to stop asking them, do you have reliable I think it's a fair question, but I was told in job interviews, do not ask that. But I mean, that's kind of unfortunate if what this texter is saying is true.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But look, it's another one of the things that we take huge, we value the responsibility that we have with the individuals who rely on us to get them to work every single day. We don't take that lightly. We have reached out to several different instances of large employers in Kanawha County, NGK Spark Plugs for one. We started a test program to get our route to actually go up there to the plant, understanding that if there are employers who need help with getting their employees to their locations, we're interested in helping them out there when we can. And we'll look at it and see, hey, does this work? Is it being used or utilized? And is it fiscally responsible? And we'll continue to do that. But again, what KRT and what public transit does for the economy can't be understated. There are individuals, if we don't operate on a day, there's an impact to Kanawha County, and it's substantial. So we don't.
And you had some struggles with the weather, I'm sure.
We did,
as did everybody. Talk about that.
Exactly. So when it gets under 25 degrees, for one, we have a warming bus. So this morning, if you go down to the city center, we don't want people, to experience those cold temperatures outside. So that's one thing we do. But also, 35-foot vehicles do really well on snow, but there's not a vehicle, in the world that does really well on ice. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've experienced these last couple of storms when the temperatures are so low. We had to make that call. A couple of days we didn't have service, which is really strange for KRT to do that. But I stand by that. We think it was a safe decision. We have our supervisors who go out and they travel every route, and then they make a call back to the dispatch of, hey, is it safe for us to operate? And if we don't feel like it is, we're not going to put someone in harm. And we understand that if we're on the road, that's a large object, sliding around. So we're going to.
As you said, the big buses, generally speaking, do well, but nothing does well on ice.
Exactly.
I see a lot more SUVs in ditches than I do regular cars sometimes, because people think that that they're invincible. A follow up to the text I had earlier when somebody asked about using smaller buses. They wanted me to throw in there that they were referring to the after hours and eliminated routes, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And in a perfect world, and as we ramp up the amount of employees and the amount of vehicles we have to make sure that we can complete those routes, the big number we're looking at is if someone in one of those 3 zones, and currently it's just 3 zones during the test, if they request a ride, what is that completion percentage? Like they were able to hit, I need a ride, and it shows up on their screen. And right now we're hovering, I think it's around 87%, which we're pretty happy with, but we want to make sure that anytime we turn on a new zone, we're able to maintain that level of success. We want people to be able to count on that service to work. That's what's important. It's great to know it's there, but it has to actually work and get you from A to B. And we're going to be cognizant of that. And we're going to aim to have that service roll out in those areas that were most impacted by these schedule changes.
Talking to Sean Hill, the Executive Director of KRT. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you in part by Bridge Valley. Interested in improving your company's IT workforce? Know that they offer custom-tailored IT training to bridge the skills gap. Bridge Valley train for little or no cost. 50-50 salary match available. They can also supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu/apprenticeships today. Text says, Dave, if Charleston wants to look and feel more like a big city, we should be expanding public transportation, not slashing it. The loss of the Sunday service and cutbacks on trolley routes are especially devastating for many Charlestonians. I don't think that that's something that goes unnoticed by you folks at KRT.
Yeah, we're cognizant of that. I mean, we're obviously huge fans of public transit. It's not exciting or fun for us to embrace the realities of, hey, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. What we're not going to do, though, is put our head in the sand and just ignore it until it becomes an even bigger problem for the public when these routes have to change or go away long term. The trolley is one of those routes that's really important to us, and the service there is one of those routes that have expanded a little bit. We are cognizant of the fact that that's a big tourism thing, and people really enjoy coming down for that. We just wrapped up the Holly Jolly Brawley Trolley as part of our holiday season. We had about 3,000 people that use that service. And those are individuals who probably don't ride the bus every day, but they...
part of the experience.
Part of the experience. They pay the safety levy. Hey, once a year they should be able to get on a bus and ride around and see the lights. That's fantastic.
Sean, one thing I think is interesting, we'll wrap up with this, is that a lot of younger people, I mean, when I turned 16, it was like I'm looking at the calendar and thinking, when can I get my driver's license? You know, the first available, I think it was Thursdays when they gave the test back in 1873 when I got a driver's license. I was thinking, I got to get that driver's license. But we're seeing a lot of younger people who it's not that big of a deal for. I mean, people 20, 21 years old that don't have a driver's, and I think it's just a cultural shift. And I say that to say this, that West Virginia has really put out the nets trying to bring younger people in, especially now that with remote work, you can work from just about anywhere. And a lot of people are choosing West Virginia because they like the wilderness and they like the access to, New River Gorge National Park and so on and so forth. So have you seen an increase in younger people? Is that a thing or what?
Yes, so we have, and so it's not just the cultural. It's be 16 years old and pay car insurance. That's not fun.
That's true.
Let's be honest there. So there are the costs. There's the issues with that. We've seen a real adoption. We've got partnerships with UC and with West Virginia State, and the amount of students there that make use of KRT is tremendous. We are seeing them using the app, the KRT Plus.
They're going to use the app.
Yeah, it's easy for them. They get it. Hey, if I can ride, this many times a month for this amount of money compared to the insurance and car and gas, it makes sense for them. So we appreciate that, and they're great at giving us feedback on what works and what's not working with the app.
All right, so let's kind of recap here. So the changes are going to take place February the 9th.
February the 9th, yes, sir.
February 9th. And so the Sunday service will be eliminated. Is there a possibility that at some point, if, as you said, you look at the numbers and you think, well, maybe we could possibly bring this back?
Sure. I would never say never. We're going to learn from what works and what doesn't work. I think, again, my board has proven that they're going to listen. So February 9th, Sunday service will go away. February 10th, those routes that are going to be minimized are going to go down in frequency. The routes that are going to bump up are going to increase in frequency. You can go to rideonKRT.com right now, and you can see actually the schedule of the routes. You can also, we have a tool where you can click, it's going to display the actual routes. Some of the routes had some deviations. We've cleaned them up, things that didn't make sense as far as where they went and what streets they went down. You can zoom in, you can see and check that out on our website. And if you don't want to go online, you can call into our office, 304-343-7586, and speak to someone who can kind of navigate and teach you, hey, this is how you can get from A to B with KRT.
I like that. How you can get from A to B with KRT.
I didn't mean to do that.
I think you just got your new marketing.
It's a new thing.
I think you just got your new marketing plan. All right, Sean, Executive Director of KRT, I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot. 21 minutes away from 10. West Virginia Enriched, in collaboration with Huntington, invites you to witness the transformative power of Special Olympics. Take a few moments, be inspired, and join the collective effort in making a difference. Not just a story, it's a movement of hope, inclusivity, and triumph, reminding us all every individual deserves a chance to shine. In West Virginia and beyond, Huntington truly making a difference right here at home. Check out a video highlighting the Special Olympics, facebook.com/580WCHS. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. The Reds are coming to town tomorrow night. Reds Caravan at the Coliseum and Convention Center. We'll talk about it next, back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses bring first-class businesses to your community.
Americans for Prosperity, West Virginia's Pathway to Prosperity, is a bold roadmap to help principled policymakers rapidly transform the Mountain State into a better place to live, work, and raise a family. To do that, we encourage state leaders to boldly adopt proven reforms that makes quality health care more affordable and accessible. Empower parents and expand education freedom to every child. Rein in government spending and cut taxes, allowing Mountaineers to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. While the recent work of the legislature has taken enormous strides toward breaking down the barriers that hold our citizens back, now is not the time to rest on our laurels. Instead, we must come together to double down on advancing freedom and opportunity to create more prosperity for every West Virginian. This is how we reignite the American dream. To learn more, visit wvpathway.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
No matter where you are never far from a Parmar store. From gas to groceries and everything else you need, your local Parmar store has it. Sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card and download the Parmar Stores app for even more savings. With well over 230 stores in 6 states, you are never far from Parmar. Visit parmarstores.com and follow them on your favorite social media app. If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
For your build or restoration, you can always count on us. Professional service and dedication, Jarrett is the name to trust. Saving you more, saving you time, providing quality building and design. Right on time, right on budget. Call on Jarrett Construction.
18 minutes away from 10. Vaccines are your best protection against severe disease from flu and COVID-19. If you're 65 or older, risk less, do more with this season's vaccines. Get started at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Text says the young kids can't or don't want to keep their noses out of phones long enough to shift their attention to drive, says a texter. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Taylor text 304-935-5008. One other text, reliable transportation is on a job application, so how is it illegal? I'm just telling you my personal story. I was told by an attorney when I was in a hiring position, do not ask about reliable transportation. And in the radio business, that's kind of important. But I was told 15 years ago when I was interviewing youngsters to become on the air with the station that I was a part of at that time, we were told, do not ask about reliable transportation.
So I've been hiring for 3 decades. The way that I've always gotten around that is you just ask, this is the shifts that you may be required to show up at. Would you have any problem at all with any weather circumstances being able to show up to your shift on time? If they answer that question affirmatively, it doesn't really matter to you if they have reliable transportation or not. They said that they could show up to work.
They said they could be there. All right, it's the voice of Dale Cooper. And Jeff Jenkins is back again. Jeff's been spending more time in the studio this week than I have.
I know. I saw him on the rundown. I was like, what the heck?
He's back again. Reds Caravan is tomorrow night. It's going to be a busy night at the Coliseum and Convention Center. We got the Parker McCollum show tomorrow night. We got the West Virginia Hunting and Fishing show going on. And we got the Reds Caravan all at one time tomorrow evening. That's going to be any of us that are going. We may want to carpool, or maybe reach out to KRT and maybe we'll just ride over there because it's going to be it's going to be quite busy at the Coliseum and Convention Center tomorrow night, guys.
We should have a warm bus that we launch from here. $19.99 for ride or something like that.
All right. So Jeff, I know you. I wanted you guys in here because next to Brian Bradley, you're the two biggest Reds fans along with me. These Reds Caravans, man, they're awesome, and I'm glad Charleston, because they've eliminated some stops. I'm so glad, Jeff, that Charleston's still part of their schedule.
Well, if they base it on last year, if they do, because it was well attended last year at the Civic Center Coliseum. It's going to be in a little different location there, so they're moving into what they call the theater, but we kind of know it as the Little Theater,
right.
And so I think they've changed the name of that. But that's where it's going to be, and the Civic Center did a great job last year with it. And there was a really big crowd. And
how
many
people do you think were there last year, Jeff? A couple hundred? I mean,
I think maybe up to three, maybe. Yeah. It was in the hundreds. It was a lot. It was, but I think it was the best attended one that we've had in a while. Anyway,
and there's some excitement coming off the 2023 year.
Oof.
Last season wasn't as good for the Reds, but they've hired a new manager, Terry Francona, and so there's. And they still got young players, so I think there'll be another good crowd there tomorrow night, and the weather's going to be good.
Yeah. It should be nice to get by, and we're getting a couple of folks here this time. Carson Spears is probably the name that most people will recognize. He had a nice, he had a 5-8 record with the Reds last year, and pitched 100 innings. So people know who Carson Spears is. Blake Dunn got a cup of coffee with the team as well. Didn't play a whole lot, but he's figured to be a part of the future. May make the roster this season. And then Sal Stewart, Jose Franco, and Gapper will be there as well. Gapper, of course, is the not a player, but one of the mascots. And then Jeremy Farrell, who's the senior director of player development, will be by as well. The one thing I wanted to that I missed in the first press release is they're giving away at every stop. They're giving away tickets to opening day this year.
Well, so cool. Who do we open up against?
It's against the Giants. Okay. Is when the giveaway is going to be. And what's interesting, or at least I guess somewhat synergistic, is the sponsor of the Caravan for the Reds this year is Cincinnati Children's, which is in the same network as the WVU Children's for the Miracle Network. So that's kind of interesting that they're being part of that. Yeah. But that's going to be tomorrow. It's going to start. You probably want to get there about 5, I would say. The event starts at 5:30. Jeff's done this for years. He's done this a long time. So once they queue up and start doing the Q&A and stuff, it moves pretty quick. I mean, you do the Q&A, you get right to the autographs, and if you're there with some stuff to get signed, you're probably going to get it signed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They don't. There's only one year that I remember that there were so many people there that they had to put a person at the end of the line, one of their people who was volunteering or working for them, and just said the line ends here. But then Brandon Phillips, who was a popular Red, he was on that particular stop, and he went back and signed everybody's
BP,
stuff.
Man.
Yeah, he signed everybody's stuff afterwards. So basically what they'll do if you come, what they'll do is they'll get there, they'll do some media interviews, then they'll have a Q&A on the stage of the players. They'll be introduced, and then they'll take questions from the audience, and then they sit down, and people come by and they sign things, and they keep it moving pretty quickly. And what they've given us access to do over the years, which is really cool, is that after once people start making their way through the line to sign the autograph with their things to get autographed, is that we just we interview the people that are there. I mean, we interview the players, and they slide down to us as they're still signing. And so we're basically at the end of the line, of the signing line, and the players just alternate, and they come down and they answer our questions. We do a live broadcast and as they're signing autographs. And we've had over the years, man, we've had a lot of young players who turned into Red stars. Coop mentioned Sal Stewart. He's the number 3 prospect in the Reds organization. He was here last year, too. So he makes his second straight trip to Charleston, which is kind of cool. So we'll talk about him. We'll talk to him. He's an up and coming third baseman. Power hitter, had a good year last year, so we'll talk with him about his development, and so that'll be exciting. And Carson Spears, who we'll talk about the rotation and his opportunity to pitch. You always need more than your original 5 pitchers, and he really came on at the end of the year, had a really good stretch run for the Reds, right-handed pitcher, and so it'll be good to meet him tomorrow night, and everybody just talk a little baseball.
Yeah, and for Reds fans, I think this year you're going to be in the same boat that you've been in recent past as far as the Reds on other media other than radio. On the visual media, I don't know that you're going to be able to find it as easily this year as what it should be. So this is your home for the Reds. This is where you'll be able to listen to all that.
Has been for a long time.
Has been for a long time, and it might be your only outlet right now other than the national games. And, hey, if you want to stay up to date on the guys like Ellie De La Cruz, see what happens when Matt McLean comes back, see if the Reds can put it back together and maybe make a playoff run, this is the place you're going to hear it from.
Yeah, and it's always good to connect with listeners. People who come out to this you get kids, and it's our listeners too.
Yeah.
It's 580 WCHS listeners.
Definitely.
And so we like to, it's great to meet up with them again and be able to talk some baseball. And the Reds have always been really great about this too, about getting on the air and willing to talk, willing to share fans, and they're always just really impressed about Charleston's turnout. And so we don't want to disappoint. Be there tomorrow night.
And that's one of the things I like about baseball too. I don't think that I'm a football guy, football 1, baseball 2, but I will tell you I don't think there's any other sport that does anything similar to this. I mean, and I know NFL rosters have like 55 or 60 players on them now, but I mean, you don't see this in basketball. You don't see the Lakers caravans. I don't think this is something that, and most of the major league teams do similar type things where they barnstorm in and they go out to these areas. And the Reds have such a regional following.
Yes.
I mean, they're huge in Indiana. They're huge in Virginia and Tennessee, and of course here in West Virginia, Kentucky, and obviously in Ohio. So things start tomorrow night at
5:30, and usually that's a little 5:30. They'll usually get there right around 5:30. They'll do some media interviews, and then so the signing probably won't start until sometime after 6 usually, but they move them through like pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's a science the way that they do it.
Yeah, and we'll get it up on air pretty. We'll get it up on air right at 6 o'clock.
And usually they have a representative from their Hall of Fame there. They have other reps who kind of travel.
In fact, they had a traveling Hall of Fame last year, if I remember. You could actually see some limited. I don't know if they'll have that this year or not. It wasn't in the press release, so it may not be there.
Yeah, but there'll be Reds people. You can talk about the Reds, obviously, with a lot of people that are there. So it'll be an exciting evening.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to it, and hope springs eternal. This is the year for the Red Machine, right, guys? Right?
That's what we're hoping for.
This is the year.
Sure.
The countdown until they lose Ellie is on, so they better hurry up.
You're right. All right, Jeff and Coop, I appreciate you guys being here. It's 9:51, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Morgan & Morgan. With more than $20 billion recovered, they believe that when you're injured, you deserve more. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses want to thank you for shopping locally.
Your next ride, your next service can all be found here on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Thornhill Auto Group, located on US 119. From Chapmanville, Logan to Belfry, our large selection of vehicles offers you the brand and style you're looking for. Total service, total savings. Our Thornhill certified staff and technicians are always ready to assist you with your next vehicle purchase or service needs. Start your drive online at thornhillautomotive.com. Come visit us today on the Thornhill Motor Mile.
Americans for Prosperity, West Virginia's Pathway to Prosperity, is a bold roadmap to help principled policymakers rapidly transform the Mountain State into a better place to live, work, and raise a family. To do that, we encourage state leaders to boldly adopt proven reforms that makes quality health care more affordable and accessible, empower parents, and expand education freedom to every child, rein in government spending, and cut taxes, allowing Mountaineers to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. While the recent work of the legislature has taken enormous strides toward breaking down the barriers that hold our citizens back, now is not the time to rest on our laurels. Instead, we must come together to double down on advancing freedom and opportunity to create more prosperity for every West Virginian. This is how we reignite the American dream. To learn more, visit wvpathway.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
As retirement approaches, are you confident in your financial plan? At 4th Avenue Financial, they specialize in helping you to prepare for this important milestone. Whether you're concerned about income, investments, or leaving a legacy, John Burnett provides personalized strategies to ensure a secure and fulfilling retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Trust 4th Avenue Financial to help you retire right with confidence. Your financial goals, their expert guidance. Visit them today at 4thavenuefinancial.com.
Securities offered through Jenny B. Cole Financial Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Jenny B. Cole Advisors Incorporated.
It is 9:53. Biggly Piggly Wiggly Hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Pinnacle Consultants. Their lead paint inspection and risk assessment services are designed to identify and to assess the presence of lead-based paints in buildings and other structures using a three-phase approach of inspection, sampling and lab analysis, and an assessment report. Visit pinnaclecorp.net, because what you don't know can't hurt you. I talked about how busy it's going to be over at the Coliseum and Convention Center tomorrow night. If you want to meet some of your favorite WVRC Media Charleston personalities, this might be the night to go to the Coliseum tomorrow night. We got the Parker McCollum Show. So I know Robb Reel from KWS is going to be there. The West Virginia Hunting and Fishing Show will be there all weekend. I'm going to be there Saturday. Chris Lawrence is going to be there throughout the weekend. We've got the Reds Caravan. Myself, Jeff Jenkins, we'll be over there for that tomorrow. So come out and hang out with us at the Coliseum Convention Center. Tex says, I remember as a kid being in the car, and my dad had the Reds game and hearing, and this one belongs to the Reds. Loved Marty and Joe. I will have to say, I don't play much of a fanboy when it comes to meeting celebrities, because I have met a ton of them, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, if they meet them, it's fine. But doing a Reds Caravan years ago at another radio station, when Marty Brenneman came in, I never asked for my picture to be taken with any Reds player, any manager, or whatever, except for Marty Brenneman. That's the guy that I wanted to meet, and I went all fanboy over Marty Brenneman. Texas Great American Ballpark is nice, but Riverfront Stadium was the best, says a texter. Tex says, how about the Shill Shelley saying it's time to move on from Trump pardoning the J6 police assaulters? I think she's scared of being primaried. She's got opposition already in the primary. If she doesn't go along with Trump's orders, Shelley Capito worked all these years to get the Senate, only to relinquish her influence and become a rubber stamp. I guess I can understand, though. She needs the public office to keep increasing her private wealth, says a texter. Text says, Dave, I think we've entered an era where things being fair for the worker no longer exist. Text says, Dave, you haven't heard, remote work is going the way of the dinosaurs. Those areas of West Virginia experiencing a little boost from remote work, well, they better find another basket for their eggs. President McDonald Trump and his oligarchy want their laborers back in office, says a texter. Text says, Dave, have you ever seen a president work so quickly to fulfill his promises to the American people? This is how a president should work for all of us. Thank you, President Trump. Speaking of Shelley Moore Capito, she was on Talkline yesterday with TJ Meadows and Dave Wilson. Interesting conversation. If you get an opportunity, go back and listen to a couple things. One thing she said, she is unconvinced that the executive order issued by President Trump will stand up in court. The one about birthright. 22 states have sued. They announced it shortly after the EOs went out that they would be suing. In fact, the first case is due in court in Seattle today. It'll probably end up in the Supreme Court. Also, as the previous texter referenced, Senator Capito kind of alluded to the fact that she didn't know that President Trump was going to be issuing blank pardons to the J6 offenders. Interesting story. Go back and listen to the interview with Senator Capito and read the story that Brad did at WVMetroNews.com. And on another note, Hoppy Kercheval back on Talkline today. Please go read his commentary. It's on the website. I heard it on my drive in this morning. The title of the commentary is Trump's Erosion of the Rule of Law, which should kind of tell you what direction that the GOAT decided to go in this morning. It's must-read material. It's available at WVMetroNews.com. Go check it out. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Before you know it, we're going to be playing baseball at Go-Mart Ballpark. Check out the 2025 Birds schedule, Birds merchandise, and more at DirtyBirdsBaseball.com. Text says, when Marty came with the Reds Caravan 5 years ago, I only wanted one autograph on my Reds hat. Marty obliged, and I thanked him for all those broadcasts I listened to on 580 driving home after power games, says a texture. TJ Meadows, you a big baseball guy, TJ?
Love the Reds. Grew up on the Reds, was raised a Reds fan. Absolutely.
Okay. And I've noticed that in southern West Virginia, we tend to gravitate more toward the Reds. Northern West Virginia, it tends to be more Pirates.
They like the Bucks up that way.
That's understandable. It's kind of the local team. What do you got on Talkline today, babe?
So as you said, the dean is going to stop by, and that question, Dave, that thought that he expressed about the rule of law, it's a debate that needs to be had, and we need to talk about. And Trump is doing that. He is violating the rule of law. I tend to agree with the dean on that, but we'll get into it and talk with him. Former U.S. Attorney Bill Ehlenfeld joins us coming up at 10:30. We'll talk about his tenure in the office. Brad at 10:06. The governor has a presser today talking about the economy again, but I have a feeling budget is going to come up. You know, people are saying, hey, what's going on? And now the latest to kind of scratch the head is House Speaker Roger Hanshaw. So we'll get into that as well. Jeff Jenkins stops by at 11:23. We're going to talk about the trials that are ongoing. But here's a big one. A columnist for the Richmond Times, Jeff Shapiro, says that we should get back together with Virginia, rekindle the marriage. And he's making a case for Governor Youngkin to take us over, for lack of a better description. So we'll talk with him and find out what's rolling around in that head of his, and probably tell him he's crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
It should be interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. I know how I feel about it. No.
Yeah, exactly.
we got it right in 1863, and I'm completely good with that. Going on with tomorrow's show, Hannah Gardner from the Kanawha Charleston Humane Association, more on the Hunting and Fishing Show, and Stephen Keith, the food guy, on Restaurant Week in Charleston next week. Talkline coming up at 10:06. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM 96.5 FM Charleston, 104.5 Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here too.